Good morning. My presentation this morning is on Oracle's view of role management and identity governance. And it may be slightly ironic, but I've been working at Oracle since the beginning of this week, having transferred into Oracle from Sun as part of the UK changing control. But hopefully I'll be able to give you all the information that you need. When I'm talking to people across the business about role management and identity governance, there are normally two key questions that I get asked repeatedly. First of all is, what is it? And secondly is, do I really need it? So I hope in the next half an hour I'll answer those questions for you to give you a better idea as to whether role management, identity governance is something that is right for your organisation. It's not right for all organisations, but for those organisations that are experiencing a reasonably high level of complexity in terms of the number of users you have within your business, the number of applications, potentially the number of change events, then it can be a very powerful tool to actually help you take cost out of the business. The agenda for the next half an hour, we'll discuss some of the business challenges that we hear from our customers and prospective customers. I will share with you a practical approach or something hopefully that will hope you can take away and maybe provide a bit of information as to how you might approach this sort of a program. I have a customer case study for you, and following that I have a very brief slide in terms of what the combined Oracle and Sun identity stack looks like. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that because Ian from Oracle is going to cover that off in a separate presentation, so we'll go through that fairly quickly. And then a summary. I'll try and leave some time at the end for a few questions as well, but I will be here during the rest of the day if you do have anything you'd like to ask. So, in terms of the business challenges, irrespective of what part of the organisation people work in, the recurring themes that people are looking to address are cost, in terms of how do we reduce the cost of access administration within our business, and secondly, how do we reduce the cost associated with proving and achieving compliance within the business. And right across business, all disciplines, those are the recurring themes that we see, and really those are the only reasons to really be pursuing this kind of a program. It's going to be a cost reduction initiative, or it's going to be one that enables you to be compliant to whatever regulatory regimes you're subject to. Now, the need to reduce costs and the need for compliance breaks down by different roles within the organisation. So when we're talking to IT, recurring theme from IT is how difficult it is to manually administer access rights within the business, particularly if they're having to do it without the use of a tool or system. If, for example, your IT department are operating in a company with, say, 5,000 users, and you have 200 applications, which is not unusual, effectively that IT department is managing 1 million objects with which to define access entitlements within the business. And a lot of organisations, a lot of IT departments are saying they just can't do it. And a lot of organisations we talk to, have 100,000 staff. Some of them have over 1,000 applications. So trying to manage this manually is really not an option for an IT department. Now, when we talk to security, security have a completely different take on things. Security tells us it's very difficult to define and agree the policies that should be applied to the business, and security reporting back to us that their end users are getting much more imaginative about getting around security policies anyway. So their struggle is, how do we ensure that policies are being defined so that they're relevant to the business and that they're not slowing the business down, but obviously making sure that they do mitigate risk within the organisation. So these are sorts of things we're hearing from security. Another recurring theme I hear from security is that it's very difficult to actually plan where we're going to take security if we don't actually know where we are today. So if we do not have an accurate view of what our risk position is in terms of access entitlements within the organisation, then how do we plan a road forward from there? Now, the business managers are my favourite group. The main gripe I hear from them is we're getting so much more legislation and regulation hitting us, particularly in financial services. We're not quite sure how we apply it to the business. It's a nuisance. It gets in the way of me actually doing my day job and doing my business, but I know I have to do it. And we see Sarbanes-Oxley. It's not just US legislation, it's impacting European businesses. We have various EU directives. Increasingly, the 8th directive, transparency, also known as Eurosox, is becoming much more of a consideration within Europe. We have PCI DSS for those customers who are handling credit card information. Each European country has its own take on data protection. These are all things that are coming into play that business managers are having to accommodate within their business, and they're finding it hard work. The second gripe from business's point of view, and this is always a favourite of mine, is IT. From a business's point of view, quite often IT might as well be on a different planet. And to give you an example of this, just over a year ago, I was with a major bank with a line of business manager, and he'd just been sent his certifications to complete for his team via Excel spreadsheet. And he showed me the spreadsheet while cursing IT, and they'd asked him to certify things that just did not make sense. So any of you who work within IT may know what RACF is, but line of business manager had been asked to certify that members of his team should have access to RACF. He said, I have no idea what RACF is, what is it? And that wasn't the worst bit. The worst bit was that IT had already gone through and renamed some of the critical systems after snakes. So he had a cobra, a python, an adder, and various other snakes that he was being asked to certify that his team should have access to. And that was a sort of kind of backdrop. It's an extreme example, but these are the kind of complaints we hear from the business about not being able to communicate with IT in terms of what they're supposed to be doing to make sure that their business is properly certified. And then on the compliance side of things, we have the auditors. The auditors have to go around after everybody else and identify whether the correct access controls are in place and where they find the information to prove that. And quite often, that information is not in a single place, so they spend a lot of time and money going around trying to find that information, and that's a big frustration for them as well. So we've covered off the business challenges, the main sort of concerns that I hear when I'm talking to customers. Now, in terms of Oracle, we've identified really 5 key phases for role management and identity compliance businesses. Projects. Now, you don't necessarily need to adopt these phases in order. You might decide that you're not going to do all of them, and clearly we need to pick the phases that align best to your business objectives. However, in the vast majority of examples where we've worked with existing clients, they do actually follow this approach in terms of phase after phase after phase. It makes sense in terms of each phase does actually build on something that you've actually already established in the first phase, and it's quite a good way of making sure that during the program you're continuing to show return on investment back to the business to justify the ongoing use of the program. So along the top line here, we've got the key activities related to each phase, and further down we've got the key deliverables from each of those phases. Phase 1, if we want to do role mining, and we want to do segregation of duty, we want to do certification across a wide range of enterprise applications, we really need to pull all of that data and information into a single place so that we can then focus on the service deliverables from that, such as detailed management reports about our risk position, segregation of duty progress, all that sort of thing. So phase 1 is very much pulling everything together into a central data-rich repository that we can then interrogate in later phases. Phase 2 is very much about automating processes around access, certification, and segregation of duty. Now, if you're currently doing this manually within your business, you can actually reasonably expect to see a return on investment, a significant return on investment, by the end of phase 2.